Swedish company Tetra Pak is a pioneer and world leader in food processing and packaging. Tetra Pak is working to make food safe and available everywhere. Dragan Rajković, Sustainability Director, welcome to Sustainable Living Podcast.
Thanks a lot. I'm glad to be here and to have the opportunity to share a bit about what Tetra Pak is doing on sustainability.
What should the consumer know about Tetra Pak?
I assume that most of the people will know Tetra Pak about the packaging that we are producing. And we are producing the rather specific type of the package for the liquid food. But in reality, Tetra Pak is not only the packaging producer, we are a system supplier. So we are producing the equipment for the food processing, we are producing the equipment for the food packaging, and then on top of that one, we are producing the packaging material itself. And one important thing when we are speaking about packaging, it is a unique type of the package, multi-material with different layers of polyethylene, aluminum, and fibers, which are of course designed in the way to provide the best protection of the food that our customers, dairy industry and juice industry, is selling to the consumers.
An estimated 20% of EU food production is currently wasted. What is Tetra Pak approach to food waste and the responsible production and consumption? Why not?
Yeah, and I think it's even larger, because what we have as a info that we have collected across the globe is that almost 1/3 of the produced food across the globe is wasted. And this itself is contributing with roughly 8% of the greenhouse gas emission. Then overall food systems are responsible for roughly 1/3 of all greenhouse gas emission worldwide. So, there is a big responsibility on the food systems to provide the rather good solutions for the food protection. And then when we speak about Tetra Pak and what we are doing, on one side, our main goal is, of course, to protect food and to make it available everywhere. And this is what we are achieving by having the specific packaging type that we have, because you don't have many other types of the packages that are able to protect, for instance, the milk with all its nutritive values across 1 year time period without refrigeration. That means that once packed food has a very long storage life without changing any of its properties, and it can be available in a rather distant areas of the world or available for consumption for the longer time period, which by itself is reducing the food waste. Other element that we are introducing is, of course, on the other sustainability through the processing equipment for the food, filling equipment of the food for the food, where we are trying to reduce the food waste, but also to bring other environmental elements like reduction of the electricity consumption, reduction of the water consumption, and similar.
What we know is that Tetra Pak has the lowest carbon footprint compared to other packaging. But what makes the Tetra Paks recyclable?
So, yeah, when we speak about the carbon footprint, when you are calculating the carbon footprint, then you're looking at the whole a life cycle of the package. So, from the sourcing of the raw material, whatever that means, polymers, in case of the beverage cartons, it's polymers, it's aluminum, and it's fibers. So, from the sourcing, throughout the conversion, throughout the production of the packaging material, then through the filling of the product, transportation, all the logistics behind, then at the end of the consumption, and then finally, at the end of the life of the package, we are focused on collection and recycling. So when you look throughout the whole life cycle and you do the assessment, what turns out is that the beverage cartons has the lowest carbon footprint, which is, of course, I would say, quite sustainable or substantial advantage for the beverage cartons comparing to other types of the packaging that can be used for the similar products. But for us, what is even more important is what we are doing at the end of the life of the package when we speak about the collection and recycling. And maybe before touching the collection and recycling, one important aspect is to understand how we are producing the package. So, you have the layer of the fibers or the carton, which is giving the mechanical strength to the package. Then we have a layer of the aluminum, which is protecting the product from any environmental influence, from the oxygen, from the sunlight, from any dirt. And then finally, we have the polymer, which is kind of a bag in which you are keeping the product in one place. So that is the concept of the package. And the concept is made to be as cheap as possible, so that delivered food or delivered product price is acceptable for the consumers. Then when we look at the composition of the package, meaning fibers, polymer, and aluminum, 75% of the package are fibers, and fibers by definition are renewable material with a quite low carbon footprint. On the other hand, when we speak about the end of the life of the package, then we talk about the collection and recycling, and then the composition of the package is determining how we are recycling the cartons. And then first step is paper mill. So paper mill will be the first step of the processing of the beverage cartons through the recycling process. So, you mix cartons in a process of roughly 20 to 30 minutes. The fibers will soak the water, get swollen, and with the friction in the pulper, they will be taken off the polymer. Then these fibers are immediately used in the production of any other type of the paper or carton product that specific paper mill is producing. And then what is left over is polymer and aluminum. Then polymer and aluminum together are going to the next stage of the recycling, where they are separated with the means of a solvent, and then polyethylene granules are produced that can be used for any other production where polyethylene is a raw material, and then we are generating the aluminum flakes, which again are going to the aluminum industry. So in reality, what we are doing with the cartons through the process of recycling, we are recycling every single component, every each of these three components that we have in the package. And then when we speak about the recycling, the technology itself and the capacity itself is not a problem, because we have quite enough capacities, at least when we speak about Europe. Across Europe, we have more than 30 different recycling facilities spread around in a convenient way, so that all the cartons collected in Europe can be properly recycled. And the capacities are more or less sufficient for the current needs. And we already have a number of the projects across Europe on increasing capacity and introducing new technologies. So from my perspective, when you speak about the recycling of the beverage cartons, the problem is not the technology or capacity, the problem is collection. And this is where the company has the most of the activities in recent years, in that beverage cartons are collected to the highest possible extent with the highest possible quality, so that we have a high volumes of the quality material available for recycling.
So you mentioned collection as the most important part of recycling. And in Europe, we have 10 countries that have implemented the deposit refund schemes, with return rates ranging between over 80% in Estonia and 90% in Germany. And actually, Norway is a good example, with an outstanding recycling rate over 90%, almost 100% recycling rate for plastic bottle. And Romania is going to join soon these countries in November, this year in November. And I just want to point out some solutions that Tetra Pak is contributing to the deposit refund scheme.
Yeah, so, from our perspective, what was Tetra Pak logic? Now we have the recycling capacities, we have the product, the package that has the lowest equivalent CO2 emission comparing to other packaging. So our focus, as I said, for several years is on a collection. So we didn't want to necessarily be part of some specific system. What we were looking for is, let's find the most efficient collection way for the cartons so that we can really make available for the recycling. And then by doing this, by evaluating, running the pilots, doing all other kind of the assessments and comparing the results across the Europe in the conventional collection scheme with a deposit scheme, what turns out is that deposit is definitely the most efficient way for the collection for many reasons, and I will try to explain how we are looking at it. But deposit system, and you mentioned it yourself, soon after introduction of the deposit system, the country is reaching very high level of the collection rates with a very high quality of the collected material. One of the important, or couple of the important reasons are, first of all, the introduction of the collection infrastructure, in this case meaning reverse vending machines, is happening in a rather condensed time period. The returning point for the empty packages is exactly the place where we are buying new one. So there is a certain convenience for the consumers. And the third element, which is rather very important, is the incentive, because there is going to be some kind of a financial incentive for every single consumer that is returning the package. So that is working highly on the motivation of the consumers to be part of the collection, and they are quite willing to do so. So with these three elements, you're creating the system that is motivational, convenient, and is then providing very, very high results. And for the last several years, Tetra Pak is advocating and promoting inclusion of the cartons in the deposit system, the same that we did in a number of the countries in Europe, but also in Romania. I had several meetings with the Ministry of Environment. At the end, the bottom line, we came to the conclusion that it is worth of including cartons in the system. And now we are waiting for the startup of the system, as you said, in November this year. And based on our discussions with the Minister of Environment, we will look for the option to be included in the system once it became operational. My expectation is that by introduction of the deposit system, the whole environment, the climate on a collection of the packaging waste in Romania will change, and we have been part of all the efforts so far, with the government, with the recovery organizations, with the waste management companies in Romania to support and to increase the collection of not only carton, but in general packaging waste. And then, you will see in some municipalities rather good results, in some municipalities not that good results. But the problem was that the system was simply not developing as fast as the legal expectations were, and as fast as we as a company would like to see the growth of the carton collection and recycling. And again, that was the main reason why we were turning to the deposit system and having then continuous discussions with the Ministry of Environment. And I'm hoping and looking forward for the cartons inclusion at the end of this year.
You already mentioned that the deposit system is a good solution in recovering the materials out of the market. But the new consumption habits created a huge amount of packaging waste globally. And are there any other solutions in recovering the packaging of the market? And I'm discussing now about what should the consumers have to take into consideration.
Yeah, perfectly understand. I mean, in general, you have two options: either going through the deposit return system, where you're creating incentive for the consumers with a specific infrastructure behind through the reverse vending machines, or maybe smart bins or manual take back, doesn't matter, but you're providing a very specific infrastructure for the return. Or you develop the conventional system where you have the bins in front of the houses or bins at the curbsides, or sometimes bags, depending now from country to country, you might have a little bit different solutions, but that is the concept. So there is a place where we as a consumers can return the empty package. What turns out is the deposit system is providing much higher return rate than the conventional system. But in some countries, for instance, in Belgium, even the conventional system is having the results above the 90% return rate when you speak about the packaging waste. So it is possible to have a very, very high results, though having that high results really means that for 10, 15 years, you need to develop and to improve the conventional collection system. And the question is, do we have that time in a country like Romania? You know, we want to catch up with Europe. We want to accelerate and to be close to the European results as soon as possible. And that's the reason why deposit system should be the system for Romania. And now when we speak about the consumers' participation, you know, it turns out, and again, from the experience that we have from other countries, it is always about the awareness of the consumer. So I would say two elements, awareness and incentive. Because you will have a number of the consumers that will return the empty packaging to the right place simply because they are environmentally conscious, they're aware of the impact that they have on a climate change or whatever, on the environment as such, on a littering, and they will be rather focused on returning the package to the right bin or to the right bag. But then we will always have a significant portion of the population that will, you know, be either not informed or not motivated. So in cases where the motivation is a lack, then I would say a couple of things needs to be done. One might be the incentive through the deposit system, because it turns out it is working quite well. But the other one is continuous education. And this is something that needs to be done from the government level, from the local authorities, from the municipalities, but also from the companies who are placing the products in the market. We need to work on increasing awareness through different educational campaigns, whatever. Is it a local campaign or is it a countrywide campaign? Less important. You know, these are just two different approaches to the same subject. But we need to explain to people why they should return the empty package. What are the benefits for them? What are the benefits for the country? What are the benefits for the environment? And what we have learned through several projects that we had in several countries in Europe is whenever we start up with this type of the campaigns, we immediately see a rather positive result. And again, I will finish with this one. I personally strongly believe in providing the financial incentive, because then you really see a step change in the motivation of consumers.
It is clear that we have a long journey ahead toward a more sustainable and resilient society, and that for that we need collective actions, as you mentioned, from the consumer, from the authorities. We also need innovative products like your packaging and new operating models. And from my understanding from this dialogue with you, Dragan, is that we just see how Tetra Pak as an industry leader remains committed to doing its part in doing what it can do to support food and beverage industry. So, Dragan Rajković, thank you for being here with us at the Sustainable Living Podcast.
Thanks a lot for having me. Thank you.